Chennai, India, in 1984. A 12-year-old boy walked to school through the dusty streets. His shoes had holes, his uniform was patched, but his eyes burned with something different. That boy was Sundar Pichai, and one day he would run the most powerful tech company on earth. But that day seemed impossible. The Pichai family lived in a two-room apartment, no air conditioning, no refrigerator, no television. Sundar and his younger brother slept on the living room floor. Every night, they would roll out thin mattresses. Every morning, they would roll them back up. His father, Raghunatha, worked as an electrical engineer at General Electric. But in India, even engineers struggled. His mother, Lakshmi, had quit her job as a stenographer to raise the children. Money was always tight. Sometimes, there wasn't enough for new clothes, or school supplies, or even proper meals. But something happened that year that changed everything. The family got their first telephone. For most kids, this would be normal. For Sundar, it was magic. He became obsessed with that phone, not playing with it, not making calls, but memorizing every number that was dialed. His brain worked differently. Years later, he could still recall hundreds of phone numbers from his childhood, random numbers, meaningless to everyone else, crystal clear in his mind. School was his escape. At Jawahar Vidyalaya, he wasn't the poor kid. He was the genius. Mathematics came naturally. Science was effortless. But English was the challenge. The medium of instruction was Tamil. English was a foreign language, a language of the elite, a language he needed to master. Every night, while his family slept on the floor around him, Sundar studied by streetlight coming through the window. No desk, no lamp, just determination. His teachers noticed something special. This wasn't just intelligence. It was hunger, a desperate need to rise above circumstances. They pushed him harder, challenged him more, prepared him for what was coming. The IIT entrance exam. In India, in India, it isn't just a university, it's a golden ticket. Every year, 100,000 students compete. Only 2,000 make it through. The acceptance rate is lower than Harvard, MIT, and Stanford combined. Sundar locked himself away to study, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 2 straight years. His father would bring him simple meals, rice and dal. His mother would pray at the temple. His brother learned to be quiet. The entire family's future rested on this one exam. The results came on a humid July morning. Sundar had done it. IT Kharagpur. Metallurgical engineering. His parents cried. The neighbors celebrated. But Sundar knew this was just the beginning. ID was another world entirely. For the first time, he was surrounded by equals. Every student was brilliant. Every conversation was challenging. The competition was fierce, but Sundar thrived in it. He discovered computers. In 1989, computers were rare in India. IIT had a computer lab, but students had to wait hours for a turn. Sometimes, Sundar would wait until 2 a.m. just to get 30 minutes of computer time. He was mesmerized. This machine could do anything, solve any problem, create any solution. But he was studying metallurgy, not computer science. It didn't matter. He taught himself programming, borrowed books, asked questions, stayed up all night writing code on paper, waiting for his turn at the computer to test it. His professors saw the passion. One pulled him aside, senior year. Sundar, you need to go to America. America. The dream seemed impossible. A plane ticket cost more than his family's annual income. Stanford's tuition was astronomical. How could a boy from Chennai even dream of Silicon Valley? But he applied anyway. The acceptance letter from Stanford arrived in March 1993. Full scholarship, materials, science, and engineering. His father stared at the letter, then did something Sundar would never forget. He withdrew the family's entire life savings, sold his scooter, borrowed from relatives, all for a one-way ticket to America. At the airport, his mother blessed him. His father said simply, "Don't look back." The flight was Sundar's first time on a plane. 24 hours, 3 connections. When he landed at San Francisco International Airport, culture shock hit immediately. Everything was enormous. The cars, the roads, the buildings, the portions of food. In India, he had learned to be small, to take up less space. Here, everything demanded you be bigger. His first night, he couldn't afford a hotel. He slept in the airport. The next morning, he took a bus to Stanford. Walking onto campus felt like entering a movie. Palm trees lined the streets. Students rode bicycles, worth more than his family's annual income. Everyone had laptops, cell phones, cars. His dorm room was bigger than his family's entire apartment. But the biggest shock came in his first computer science seminar. The professor asked, "How many of you have been programming since high school?" Every hand went up, except Sundar's. "How many have email addresses?" Again, every hand but his. He didn't even know what email was. That night, alone in his dorm, he considered quitting, going home. The gap seemed too large. These students had been coding for years. They grew up with computers in their homes. How could he possibly compete? But then he remembered his father selling everything, his mother's prayers, his brother sleeping on the floor, so Sundar could study. Failure wasn't an option. He threw himself into learning, first to arrive at the computer lab, last to leave. While others partied on weekends, Sundar coded. While they went home for holidays, he stayed on campus, learning, building, creating. 6 months later, he was outperforming students who had been programming since childhood. His professors were stunned. One commented, "I've never seen anyone learn this fast." But Sundar had been learning fast his entire life. It was survival. Stanford opened doors he didn't know existed. Silicon Valley companies came to campus weekly, recruiting, offering internships, presenting visions of the future. Sundar attended every talk, asked questions, made connections. One presentation changed his trajectory forever. A small company called Google. It was 1999. Google had just moved out of a garage. They had a radical idea: organize the world's information, make it universally accessible. The founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, were just a few years older than Sundar. But Sundar didn't join Google. Not yet. First came McKinsey and Company, the consulting giant. They offered him 6 figures, more money than his father had made in a lifetime. He took it, sent money home, paid off family debts. For the first time, his parents could relax. But consulting wasn't his passion. He was building PowerPoints when he wanted to build products. He was advising companies when he wanted to create them. After 2 years, he quit, applied to Wharton, got his MBA. But even at business school, he couldn't stop thinking about technology, about Google, about the future being built in Silicon Valley. 2004 arrived with a decision. Google was going public. They were hiring aggressively. Sundar applied for a product management position. The interview process was brutal. 15 rounds. Technical challenges, product designs, cultural fits. The final interviewer was Larry Page himself. The question was simple. What would you do with GruMail? GruMail had just launched. It was revolutionary, but rough. Sundar talked for an hour about interface, about integration, about making email not just functional, but delightful. Larry hired him on the spot. April 1st, 2004. Sundar Pichai joined Google as product manager. Employee number 3000 something. The company was still small enough that everyone knew everyone. The culture was intense. Ship fast, break things, change the world. Sundar loved it. His first project seemed minor. Google Toolbar, a browser plugin that put Google Search in Internet Explorer. Not sexy, not revolutionary, but Sundar saw opportunity. This toolbar could be Google's Trojan horse, a way onto every desktop in the world. He rebuilt it from scratch, added features, pop-up blocking, spell check, autofill, simple additions that made browsing better. Within a year, 100 million people had downloaded it. But Sundar was thinking bigger. Microsoft controlled the browser. Internet Explorer had 95% market share. Every Google user had to go through Microsoft's gate. This was dangerous. One update from Microsoft could kill Google's traffic. Sundar wrote a memo. We need our own browser. Eric Schmidt, then CEO, said no. Too expensive, too complex. Competing with Microsoft was suicide. Sundar didn't give up. He built a team quietly, recruited the best engineers, created prototypes. When he had something remarkable, he presented again, this time to Larry Page. Larry saw it immediately. Build it, fast. Chrome was born in secrecy. For 2 years, Sundar's team worked in isolation. The project was so secret, most Google employees didn't know it existed. They were building something impossible, a browser that was faster, simpler, and more secure than anything else. September 2nd, 2008, Chrome launched. The tech world exploded. Microsoft panicked. Mozilla worried. But users loved it. Fast, clean, simple. Everything a browser should be. Within a year, 30 million people were using Chrome. Within 5 years, it overtook Internet Explorer. Today, 3 billion people use Chrome. But Sundar wasn't done. He saw the next shift coming. Mobile. Google had Android, but it was fragmented, chaotic, hundreds of versions, thousands of devices, no coherence. Sundar took control, unified the platform, created standards, built relationships with manufacturers. Under his leadership, Android went from janky iPhone alternative to the world's dominant mobile operating system. 2.5 billion devices now run Android. The board noticed. This quiet engineer from Chennai was building Google's future. 2013 brought unexpected change. Andy Rubin, who created Android, left suddenly. Larry Page called Sundar. You're taking over Android and Chrome and apps, everything that touches users. Overnight, Sundar controlled products used by billions. The responsibility was staggering. One wrong decision could affect half the planet. But Sundar had been preparing for this his entire life. Every obstacle, every challenge, every late night studying by streetlight. It all led here. He restructured everything. Integrated teams, unified design language, created consistency across products. Gmail looked like Chrome, looked like Maps, looked like Android. For the first time, Google felt like one company, not 20 startups. Revenue exploded. 2014, $66 billion. 2015, $75 billion. The board was ecstatic, but Larry Page was planning something bigger. August 10th, 2015. Larry called Sundar into his office. I'm restructuring everything. creating Alphabet. I'll run the big bets, the moonshots. But Google needs a CEO, someone who understands products, someone engineers respect, someone who can execute. I want you to run Google. Sundar was speechless. The boy from Chennai, who slept on the floor, who didn't have email until Stanford, was now being asked to run the world's most powerful technology company. He called his parents that night. His mother cried. His father said simply, "I knew this day would come." October 2nd, 2015. Sundar Pichai became CEO of Google. The announcement shocked Silicon Valley. Traditionally, tech CEOs were founders, visionaries, showmen. Sundar was none of these. He was quiet, thoughtful, collaborative. But that's exactly what Google needed. The company was facing challenges: regulatory scrutiny, employee protests, competition from Facebook, Amazon, Apple. It needed steady hands, someone who could navigate complexity without ego. Sundar's first all-hands meeting as CEO set the tone. No grand vision speech, no dramatic pronouncements. Instead, he listened. For 2 hours, he answered every question, every concern, every fear. By the end, employees understood. This wasn't about Sundar. It was about them, about Google, about the mission. The results spoke for themselves. Stock price doubled in 3 years. Revenue crossed $100 billion. Google Cloud became a real competitor to Amazon. YouTube became the world's second largest search engine. But the biggest test was yet to come. COVID-19. Overnight, Google had to send 100,000 employees home, keep services running for billions, depending on them for work, school, communication, navigate economic uncertainty, political pressure, social responsibility. Sundar's leadership shined. No layoffs, while other tech companies cut thousands. Bonuses for essential workers. Free advertising for small businesses. COVID tracking tools that helped save lives. While other CEOs hid, Sundar was visible. Weekly videos. Constant communication. Admitting uncertainty. Showing humanity. Employees rallied. Productivity increased. Innovation accelerated. Google emerged from the pandemic stronger than ever. December 2019 brought the ultimate recognition. Larry and Sergey stepped back completely. Sundar became CEO of Alphabet. Everything: Google, YouTube, Cloud, Deep Mind, Waymo, all of it. The boy from Chennai now controlled a company worth $2 trillion. But power didn't change him. He still arrives early, stays late, responds to emails personally, remembers names, asks about families. During visits to India, he still stays with his parents in their modest apartment. When asked about success, Sundar always returns to the same theme. I was fortunate, lucky, right place, right time. But luck doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain the 16-hour study days, the nights sleeping on airport floors, the determination to learn email at Stanford, the courage to challenge Eric Schmidt about Chrome, the vision to see mobile's importance before everyone else, the skill to manage egos, politics, and complexity. That's not luck. That's character, built through struggle, refined through adversity, proven through results. Today, Sundar Pichai stands as more than just a CEO. He's a symbol. For every immigrant who arrives with nothing, for every student studying by streetlight, for every dreamer told their dreams are too big. His story says something powerful. Where you start doesn't determine where you finish. A 2-room apartment in Chennai can lead to a boardroom in Mountain View. A boy without email can run the company that organizes the world's information. A family's entire savings on a plane ticket can become a $2 trillion return. But perhaps the most powerful part of Sundar's story isn't the success, it's the humanity. In an industry known for ego, he remains humble. In a culture that celebrates disruption, he builds consensus. In a world that rewards self-promotion, he promotes others. When young engineers from India email him, he responds. When students ask for advice, he gives time. When his team succeeds, they get credit. When things fail, he takes responsibility. This is leadership, real leadership, not born from privilege or connections, but earned through competence, character, and care. The boy who memorized phone numbers now helps billions communicate. The student who waited hours for computer time now ensures instant access to information. The immigrant who slept in airports now makes the world feel smaller, more connected. From Chennai to Mountain View, from poverty to power, from nothing to everything. This is Sundar Pichai. This is the American dream. Still alive, still possible, still powerful. And somewhere right now, in Mumbai or Manila or Mexico City, another 12-year-old is walking to school. Shoes worn, uniform patched, but eyes burning with possibility. They don't know it yet, but their story has already begun. Just like Sundar's did, on that dusty street in Chennai, all those years ago.